Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. Welcome to MFSN The Hub's Fantasy Football Strategy Show every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Today it's at 4:32, but I'm here with only Ross the Boss.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss. I'm coming from La La Land, Los Angeles, California. It's 102 degrees outside. I just walked outside, Dan, and it's hot. And our information is hot. And that theme of the show is hot, hot, hot. So tonight, Dan, we have an unbelievable preseason game. I'm sure you'll be watching because your Cleveland team is playing the Philadelphia team. And your Cleveland team looks good. I like Cleveland, and I know you guys play Cincinnati. The first regular season game is at home against Cincinnati, and I have a feeling you guys might win.
Listen, in the days where there were a 16 game schedule, I used to always love to say this about any Brown season. I believe this is the year we're finally going to put it all together and go 7-9. That's what I would say over and over. Now we're going to go 7-10.
Well, you know what? I mean, if your coach, what's his name, Sabowski or Sadowski, if that idiot,
Kevin
Stefanski, if that idiot can get in his mind, I have a great running back named Chubb.
He just needs to keep handing it off to Chubb. Yeah,
I agree. And then have Watson hit Peoples Jones for 6 once in a while too. That'd be great. And I think the Browns are going to be good this year. I really do. I think Watson has a year under his belt. He was horrible last year. You have to admit that. You're not going to say he was good. Please don't.
Oh my God! And not only do I admit it, but I expected it. And
I kind of did too.
Yeah.
But I'm being optimist for you, Dan. I know you're a diehard Browns fan, and I have a feeling that they might pull it together this year. See what happens.
Listen, one of the best things the Browns have going for them this year is that I'm no longer a fan. Now I realize I have a Cleveland jersey in the background, but
I see it, number 6.
I'm gonna have to get a Bills jersey or something, whatever my new team is going to be. I haven't decided yet. I'm leaning Bills, but I don't know yet.
Yeah, I would go Cincinnati. You're right down the street. Why not be a Bengal fan?
I'm fine leaving the Browns, but it feels a little bit bad to go to a rival.
Okay, you got me. Okay.
But I do think, look, if the Browns just hand the ball off to Nick Chubb over and over and over, I mean, they could go very far with that. Are they going to do that? Absolutely not. They never do that.
No, your coach is a knucklehead, so no, you won't.
Yes, and not only that, but the Browns are the single most injured team ever, and it's not bad luck. It's bad training.
I think 49ers you got to put the 49ers up there too.
Maybe Kyle Shanahan learned some of that from Cleveland and brought it to San Francisco.
I mean, the 49ers have awful luck with their quarterbacks and with their offensive line. Horrible.
But I believe it's bad luck. The Browns, their training staff, I've even met some of these people, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to throw them under the bus. They're terrible.
Terrible.
Just terrible. So
and Dr. Dan is a real doctor. He's not like a fake guy we call doctor. He's a real certified doctor, so he knows.
Yeah, although full disclosure, I am a psychologist, but I do work with physical symptoms. So I just I don't want to mar my name. So Ross, let's talk fantasy football. A lot of people are in the thick of draft times. Their drafts are coming up, or maybe they just drafted. And I know you and Casey have been working on those positional previews. You did quarterbacks, you did wide receivers. I believe you haven't done running backs yet.
I want to do running backs, but Casey's on vacation this week, so we couldn't do it on Tuesday.
A surprise vacation.
It was like, don't even ask. He says, "Oh, my wife surprised me with the vacation." No, she didn't. You knew you were on vacation. You just didn't have the guts to tell me. I get it.
That's right. So on this show, we'll answer any questions you guys want, but it's also a basic strategy show in general. So, I'm thinking from a strategy perspective, what are you thinking about going into these drafts? I just did a short, which will be coming out soon, on stacks. I love stacks. I don't know how you feel about it.
Casey and I talked about stacks. I asked Casey his opinion about stacks, and I won some league stacking players. I mean, I'll be honest, a full disclosure. I mean, it works it works if your team does really well. When it doesn't work is when your team is in last place.
It's kind of like you're putting a lot of your chips in one hand. But, the advantage of it, I find, is if you win big. And so, this is a game of win big or go home, I think, in many ways. And I think the longer you play, the more it feels that way because, it's nice to have a good season, but ultimately, we really want to win the whole thing. So stacks is one way to do it. But how else are you thinking about things going into the draft?
So stacks, stacks is obviously when we explain to the audience what stacks is.
Sure. So a stack is when you choose a quarterback and either a wide receiver or a tight end that goes along with that. You can even get it with a running back if they're a receiving back, but that's not the traditional stack. You want something where you can make up lots of points where if the quarterback throws a touchdown to the wide receiver and you've got both, you're going to make huge points. And if that happens a lot, you're going to win big. And the reason I like it is that, it leads to more scoring variation. You could have weeks where you are down if that quarterback and wide receiver don't have a good week. But you also are going to have huge weeks. And the volatility is actually good when it comes to fantasy football, I think. But Ross, what do you think?
I agree. And I agree with you tremendously because I feel there's some really good stacks out there. And you can get these quarterbacks really low in the draft and get their number one receiver or get their number one tight end, whatever position there. But I mean, what's your favorite stack? If you had your choice of any stack, any team, any player, what's your number one stack?
Well, I mean, redraft or keeper is different, but I'll go redraft because we're usually
redraft because 85% of the people are redraft.
I mean, I like Mahomes and Kelsey. It's very hard to pass up that stack.
They're my number one. If I could pick any stack, it'd be Mahomes because he's my number one quarterback, and Kelsey because he's his number one target and he's the number one tight end. So you're getting two number ones in that stack, and that's a huge advantage.
And listen, as a Bengals fan, Burrow and Chase are way up there too. If Burrow's not hurt, but right now he's hurt, so is he going to miss the time?
I've been studying that closely. He's going to make it week one, but remember, he made it week one last year, and it was a slow start because he was hurt during training camp again. He wasn't hurt; he had surgery, appendix, right? Is that
that is right? That is right.
He had appendix surgery, and he wasn't all the way healed, and he played anyway. It was a stupid idea by the coach, and he played. But I feel the same way on week one this year. I think he's not going to have any snaps at all in preseason. He's going to go out there cold. I know he's been a player for a while, but that's the reason I do like the Browns first week one. I think the Bengals will lose that game, especially in Cleveland.
I'll tell you though, one reason that I like a Joe Burrow related stack is you're probably not going to get Burrow and Chase, but you could get Burrow and Higgins. Whereas with Mahomes, you're not going to get Mahomes and Kelsey in almost all leagues.
I mean, this is a possibly stack you can get. This is feasible, especially this year with Burrow being hurt and he's dropping an ADP average draft position. You
could get if you draft.
You could get Burrow, Higgins, and Chase on the same team. That's a feasible thing you can get. It's not crazy. Chase first round, Higgins second round, Burrow third round. That can happen.
Yeah, well, it depends on what the news on Burrow looks like. Because if the news looks good on
Burrow, he's
still
dropping. It doesn't matter. People are. Oh, he's hurt. I'm not taking him. I mean, trust me.
It's true. You're right.
I've been in these drafts the past 2 weeks, and he's dropping like a rock.
Here's another stack that I really like.
Tell me.
Well, Jalen Hurts is obviously a great quarterback to have, but he's got two receivers you can stack with him. And so when I'm drafting a quarterback, and if this is a tiebreaker of sorts, but I could look at a situation and say, you know what? I want to be able to get one of those two receivers later. You could do the same, actually, in Buffalo. You could take Josh Allen and go for Stephon Diggs, but if you don't get him, you can get Dalton Kincaid. It's really helpful to have a stack that involves a tight end.
I'm not crazy about rookies.
I'm not crazy about rookies either, or tight ends.
I'm worried about Knox is a good tight end. I don't know how much. I got to see what happens in Buffalo. I'm not putting any stock in Kincaid right now. I know you like him. I'm not.
No. I'm saying this is a way to find a cheap stack because listen,
the cheapest stack I think because this quarterback will go in the 10th, 11th round is Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, great point. Great point.
I mean, the thing is, Justin Jefferson is number one pick in a lot of leagues. I get it. But give the number one pick, you wait till the 7th, 8th round. You can get Kirk Cousins. A lot of people pick him as a backup, like I did in tons of my leagues. And because I just loved him in that Netflix show, Quarterback. I loved it. And very likable guy, good family guy, unbelievable. Even though he went to Michigan State, we won't hold it against him. But he actually will have a lot of passing yards, and Justin Jefferson has Addison as another receiver there that will get some yards too. But That's a good stack. I like that stack, actually, Jefferson and Kirk Cousins.
Well, and one of the reasons, and you're pointing out really well, is it's a stack you can pretty easily get if you get your hands on Jefferson. Kirk Cousins you can get a lot later.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're the number one pick, you take Jefferson.
Another good example would be to take Chris Olave in maybe round 2,
okay,
or maybe 3, and then you can get Derek Carr. But
it's Derek Carr. It's like the guy's so jacked up right now in steroids. I don't know if you've seen pictures of him, but he's huge.
It's true. Okay, now we've got some comments coming in about stacks. I'm going to read these, Ross, and we got a disagreement. This will be interesting. So Chris Atwater says, I like stacks. Tua and Hill.
Love it. I love Tua. They opened the season here in LA against the Chargers. Tua, I think if he can stay healthy, will have a top 5 quarterback in my book. I love Tua this year. And Hill, to me, top 3 receiver. If he stays healthy, he will. And he already told the press that he's going to have 2,000 yards and then Miami's going to win the Super Bowl. He already said that, which is great.
Well,
but I love Waddle. I love Hill. If you can get, that's another interesting stack. You get Hill, Waddle, and Tua. That's feasible.
And look, you can get Tua a little bit later. I mean, you can't get him quite as late as Cousins, and certainly not as late as Carr.
You can get Tua late. He's not going that quick in drafts. People are not.
Where do you think he'll go? In, let's say, 12-team league.
I say 7th, 8th round.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me.
But 7th, 8th. I mean, again,
so actually similar to Kirk Cousins, but maybe with even more upside.
Yeah, and he's younger. But yep. I mean, if I played a team that had Tua, Waddle, and Hill, I would be nervous playing that team that week. That's all I gotta say.
I agree. Okay, Uncle Ted is here with us. Uncle Ted, good to see you. He says your league winner has just arrived. Uncle Ted, we have you in our baseball league, I believe. You got to respond to that email. I got to make sure you're in. But sounds like you're very confident you're going to win some football leagues, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts on that. I'm going to jump to your comment on stacks first, and then I'm going to go back to the players. This is what Uncle Ted has to say about stacks. Stacks are dumb. And then he says, Olave is trash. Okay, Ross, let's hear about this. What do you think?
I get New Orleans, not a high potent offense like they were with Drew Brees. I understand what you're talking about, Ted, but you know what? I mean, Olave is not trash. Top 20 receiver for sure. Maybe top 15. I don't draft him that early. I know people that do. But he's not trash. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I will say, though, to draft him as if he is that number 1 receiver, when you're building in risk to do that. So you do have to, I think, get him at a good value. But I agree with you. I do not think he's trash. Now, Uncle Ted then said, Roshan Johnson, Devin Achane, 100%, and Tank Bigsby. What do you think about these three running backs, Ross?
Great backups. They're not going to win you any fantasy football leagues, but if you take them, the good guys, if you have a long bench, all those guys are good to have on your bench because you never know when the number 1 backs are going to go down. You never know. Yeah,
and look, guys like this, they could actually win you your league.
And Rashawn Johnson could be a number 1 back. We'll see what happens there too. I mean,
right,
a lot of talent.
And you're always going to get running backs like this that you really need on your bench because these are the kinds of things that win you leagues. To me, stacks are useful, and they're not something that I have to do, but they're a built-in way to have volatility and high scores at times. Guys like this are another way to do it.
And I love Tank Bigsby. I think with Auburn, he's the real deal.
And also, I mean, Jacksonville just they look poised for a breakout to me. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was really figuring it all out. I think they're going to have a big year.
I agree. Now, I think they'll win their division. How about that one?
I could see that 100%, especially that division. Okay, so Uncle Ted then says, this is the same man who said Olave is trash. Quentin Johnson is a must draft.
Okay, he's the rookie from TCU. Ted, I agree with you. I love this guy in college. I love watching him play. I've been jumping up and down about him when the Chargers took him. I love Johnston. I feel he'll have a good year. The problem with him is there's a lot of receivers in the Charger program that will be getting the ball before him.
So here's what I want to do with Quentin Johnson. I want to let somebody else draft him, and then I want to trade for him in week 4. Because rookie wide receivers, they don't figure it out super fast, but the second half of their seasons usually is quite good. So you can get him at a good value. That's probably what I would do with Quentin Johnson. I think he's a great player. But, unless I'm going to get him.
He's a big dude. I mean, this guy.
Well, not only that, but he's also linked up with this, great passer.
And Keenan Allen's on his last leg. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, this guy is, he still can play, but he's just older.
Yeah, I think in redraft leagues, especially, Keenan Allen is a bit of a value at this point because he's so old. But and look, he might not get you much value at all in the end. But you got to take your chances, and so just make sure you evaluate each pick and get the best value you can out of it.
Okay, and I do like Mike Williams. I think Mike Williams, Clemson grad, I feel he's going to have a big year for the Chargers.
He seemed to be making a leap. Okay, Uncle Ted says, I want only Ys, not X's when it comes to my receivers. Ross, translate for the audience.
So XYZ, basically Y is a slot receiver. He doesn't line up. He lines up right outside the tight end usually. Usually the quarterback uses him as the second target if the first target's not available, but there are some really good wide receivers right now out there. But it does make a difference. I don't know if a big difference in fantasy though. I think, all the top tier guys are going to get the ball. I mean, Hill's like not a wide receiver. He's an X, but
okay. So, but here's the thing. All right. So Uncle Ted said, and this is a good example. Y routes are your Randy Mosses. Now I'm going to make a counter to that, Uncle Ted, and let's see what you think. Remember Wes Welker? He won people a lot of leagues, especially PPR leagues. He was just getting tons and tons of passes. So, it really depends on, is there enough volume in a passing game for two receivers? I think in a lot of places there are. I mean, Devontae Smith in Philadelphia, I have no problem taking Devontae Smith. I want a piece of that offense for sure. Okay, let's see. Chris Atwater says, "Go Saints." He is a Saints fan.
I know he is.
When I talked about Olave. I love, I think back to, so I was friends with Chris Atwater before the Saints won the Super Bowl.
I know the wedding story. I know the whole thing.
And we know your false, and we know your fake wedding story, which we want to hear again and again.
Where there's smoke, there's fire, as we say in Los Angeles. So
but I mean, he was a big fan when they weren't even good. So he gets full credit. And
full credit. They won the Super Bowl when he was,
and then he won the Super Bowl.
Cheering. He was unbelievable. But the Saints have, again, Saints can win that division. I mean, the Saints have a good team. People don't realize that they improved on offense and defense. I do like the Saints this year winning that. They can win the division easily. That division's up for grabs.
Yep. Okay.
And now, if you think about it too, like Tampa Bay, they lose Brady, right? And Brady's 44, 45 years old. Everybody else is kind of still there, especially their defense. I mean, they didn't really lose that much compared to and Fournette's not signed, which I think is a good thing. I think he's on his last leg. I like White a lot better, but I really believe that Tampa Bay is being overlooked just because of Mayfield. Again.
Well, I would say Mayfield / Trask, because it's like who
I hate that. I hate what they're doing with the whole quarterback controversy. Make up your mind. One guy's taking first team reps. The other guy takes second team reps. Don't share it. Don't confuse these guys. Mayfield's my quarterback. He has more experience. He's proven that he can play in this league. This make Mayfield a starter right now. Stop the games.
I think that's true. I also think Mayfield he'll probably get hurt. I don't want that to happen to him. I want him to have a career resurgence. I always like the guy. But
did you see Johnny Manziel's documentary?
I haven't seen it. I'm fascinated too.
So I watched it. It's an hour and a half. It's one episode. He comes out and he tells the whole story. He's not hiding anything. I mean, he talked about how he took money illegally with the signings and the drugs and being in rehab, everything. He even says he was probably the biggest failure as the number one pick in NFL history, which isn't true. Well, Leaf is up there too, but who actually interviewed. But he actually came clean. It's you should watch it.
Yeah, no, it looked totally just completely fascinating to me. Now, Uncle Ted has some comparisons between some of the players he's hyping and who they would be from the past. Okay, so first he said Rashawn Johnson will be a top 10 running back. It's a hot take. Easily could happen if there's an injury. But I don't know what to think of the guy yet. But let's go on with this. A chain is 100% is Chris Johnson 2.0, arguably the fastest team ever. What do you think of a chain? I mean, I don't love how his height is a bit of a worry to me. But Barry Sanders is the greatest running back of all time in many circles. Of course, I got Jim Brown back here as well.
Yeah.
What do you think about a chain as a comparison with Chris Johnson?
It's a good comparison. I have to see him play, and I need to see him to take some reps and play. I mean, I can't like.
I just remember when Chris Johnson was a rookie, I was in a league, and one team took Chris Johnson in the 8th round of a redraft league, and I was like, wow, that seems a bit early on somebody like that. And they won the league, and of course, it was because
it takes one player to win like a pick like that. You know, like my guy is Abe Flowers of Baltimore. I think he's going to be a huge year. He's going like the 11th round.
See, I don't think rookie wide receivers, they almost never.
It just depends what team. It depends what team and who's on the roster.
But the Ravens have never done that well with wide receivers. Let's hear. I want to hear what Uncle Ted, Chris, and everyone else says about that. We'll get into that. All right, now Quentin Johnson is CeeDee Lamb 2.0. I actually think he could be even better, honestly. But that's saying a lot.
Those are huge words. I mean, guys, CeeDee Lamb's a top 5, top 10 receiver. He's the number 1 target in Dallas, and he's going to have 1,400 yards with over 10 touchdowns. He's going to have a huge year. And this guy hasn't played a snap in the NFL yet. So you can't compare him to CeeDee Lamb. Absolutely not.
Well, you can.
The only comparison is he played college football where CeeDee Lamb was playing college football.
Well, but
when CeeDee Lamb was playing for the Cowboys, that's
this is part of the state. It's part of the fun of the predictions, though, is we're going to get to see. You know, as people stick with us here for long enough, we're going to start to see how do these predictions come out. Now,
do you want to hear a funny story that I heard, and I just want to repeat it, it's just like a lightning story that I heard. So Bennett, the quarterback for the Rams, 2nd string, went to Georgia. He spent 6 years in school and didn't graduate. He didn't get a degree. 6 years, just futzed around and played football, which is fine. And now he's with the Rams, rookie. Sony Michel, who was on the same team with him at Georgia, played in the NFL, won a Super Bowl, and he also retired this year, being on the same team with Bennett in college. So he's been through the NFL, already played, and Bennett starting his first year.
That shows you what happens to running backs.
Yeah, I mean, Sony Michel, good career, made tons of money. So he's fine. He can do whatever he wants now. But he's retired while Bennett starts his career.
Well, I mean, this is another good example. This comment about Rashawn Johnson. He's Matt Forte meets Felix Jones 2.0. The amount of names that we have to remember.
Matt Forte.
All of those running
Felix
backs.
Jones. Yes. Yeah, that's a lot of work to find those names. I mean, you're finding Matt Forte. That's a name from the past. And Felix Jones.
All right, Chris Atwater says, which rookie wide receiver sleepers are you big on? No, you already said Zay Flowers.
I love Zay. I like Addison for the Vikings. I feel
I like Addison
the real deal. I feel he's going to be a huge year. The Johnston who Ted's jumping up and down about. I love him too. These are all 3 big receivers that I like. I mean, these guys will have good years, I think. I'm
going to give a deeper wide receiver sleeper. I like Josh Downs. I did coming into the draft. He looks good to me. There's a lot of question marks. Anthony Richardson's starting quarterback. Who knows how he's going to do? There's a lot of receivers to go around on that team as well. But you can get him for towards the end of your draft.
Can we talk about Anthony Richardson real quick?
We should. He's our cover boy.
So this guy, 6'4", 250. He's built like he's really built like a linebacker. If you saw him walking around, you say, "Who's the linebacker?" I mean, and this guy's not afraid. He runs the ball. I mean, Vegas. I looked it up last night. Vegas has him over under for the year like 660 yards rushing. He's going to get that in the first 10 games. I mean, he's going to be running the ball tons of times in Indianapolis. He'll make. He's going to set some records. This kid.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and he can throw the ball far and hard and accurate. I mean, this guy has all the tools. He just needs to play every preseason game, and I think this kid's going to be special. I really do.
I agree, but I also think this is a good time to highlight what's different between fantasy football and real football. Anthony Richardson's going to make a fair amount of mistakes in real football.
Oh yeah, that's why I said haven't played preseason. Just haven't played every game. At least a quarter, least.
But from a fantasy standpoint, those mistakes don't show up that much. An interception is -2 points, maybe. Okay, fine. He's going to put up big numbers. This guy has a pretty safe floor for a quarterback, and he's got a huge upside. So you can't confuse, real football with fantasy football in terms of value.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be running over people, and he doesn't slide. He's not going to be sliding. There's no sliding with this guy.
No sliding with that guy.
I mean, this guy's going to be like looking for linebackers to run over.
He wants to run people over. Albert Mariquin says, good afternoon. I just wanted to say hi to Albert. Thanks for
Albert, we're talking about stacking. I know you're just here. We're talking about players that you would like to stack or any ideas about stacking that you might have. I'm willing to debate or say good job. I don't know what I'll say. You never know.
Okay, now, Uncle Ted says, give me A.J. Brown, Metcalf, and Debo. That sounds like a good wide receiving core to me. But then he says, stacked with Chubb, KW3, and Pierce as the flex. All right. Now we have to discuss what rounds would you get these guys in?
So Chubb, I mean, I've been seeing him in the first round. He's been going up a lot ADP wise. So is Derrick Henry.
In a redraft league, Chubb, especially in a redraft league, is a no-brainer. I mean, Henry, could he fall off a cliff? Yeah, but he's a different animal. He's a different animal. I think Henry is going to put up essentially first round value this year. He could get injured, maybe.
I do too. We had a question on our website recently about Henry. Why isn't he a sleeper? He asked us, or he asked me, and I just said, "Listen, he's going up too much to be a sleeper." You know, beginning of the training camp, he was a sleeper, but now he's all the way up to like late first round, second round. People are taking this guy.
You can't get a sleeper pick if he's projected as a first round.
No, pick. I mean, I get what people are saying, like, oh, he's a sleeper, but the news is out about Derrick Henry. Everybody knows who this guy is. He's a beast.
That's right. And he could keep doing this for a couple more years in a kind of Jerome Bettis type of way. He's that way. But I think he's got one last great season. And now here, another draft strategy component is, well, what do you do with tight ends? You could go for somebody like Kelsey, big time up front, or maybe you grab Mark Andrews on the relatively early side. But a lot of people do what Uncle Ted's talking about, fade tight ends and then grab somebody late. He's suggesting Dalton Schultz and Jake Ferguson.
Yeah, I mean, something that I've been kind of drafting and getting late just because he didn't have a great season last year. And I think this year he's going to have a tremendous season. I think this guy is going to turn it up and be a top 5 tight end for sure. Is Fairmouth for the Steelers. I feel he's going to have a huge year. He'll be healthy this year. He's going to turn on this year, and you'll see this guy catch at least 8 to 10 touchdown passes for the Steelers this year. The Steelers are going to be improved a lot. That rookie quarterback has grown up. Pickett, I like that guy a lot, and I like Pickens too.
I believe. Yeah, I agree with you. I have high hopes for it. I have Pickens.
But Fairmouth is one of the guys that if I had to take a tight end late, he'd be one of the guys I would take.
I agree. And you even did pretty well with the pronunciation, Freiermuth. All right. Uncle Ted says Dak, Tua, and Love as a cheap QB ADP stack. So, what do you think about taking 3 quarterbacks? I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if that's what Uncle Ted is saying here, but I think he's looking at those quarterbacks.
I like Tua. I hate Dak. I hate the Cowboys. Only Cowboy I would take would probably be with CeeDee Lamb. That would be it. I'm worried about Pollard staying healthy, being the number 1 back there this year. I don't know if he can stay healthy. Cooks is a joke. I wouldn't take him. I mean, the Cowboys to me are not going to even be 500. I don't know why people are jumping up and down about them. I know they have their big fan base, but who cares? Cowboys, don't take Dak. Stay away.
Speaking of, quarterback wide receiver stacks, a cheap one you can pick up is Jordan Love and Christian Watson. You might have to pay too much for Christian Watson, but, and I'm not even saying they necessarily will have a big year, but if they do, you're getting it for cheap.
I'm rooting for Jordan Love. I mean, I'm not a big Aaron Rodgers guy. Aaron Rodgers treated him like horribly. I mean, Aaron Rodgers wanted me to talk to the kid. And he should be embarrassed.
It seems like the longer we get to know Aaron Rodgers, the more we might start to understand why he fell in the draft.
I know, but I mean,
a Hall of Famer.
Hard Knocks. It's like they should just call it Aaron Rodgers show. I mean, all they do is focus on Aaron Rodgers, and it's embarrassing. It's not the same show.
It's an embarrassment to humanity.
It's not the same show. It's not the show I watched 10 years ago. It's the Jets made it so
they sold out.
They don't let these guys do their job. The Jets are not letting him. They don't like evaluate players anymore. They want to talk to the players that are trying to make the team. It's just a joke. Don't watch Hard Knocks anymore. I'm very upset.
Ross is off it. We're all off it.
Horrible.
Ross. All right. Chris Atwater says, I was a Saints fan when both QBs were named Billy Joe.
Billy Joe Tolliver.
I was thinking of Billy Joe Hobart. So I think we have the two.
We got them both. You did it.
I couldn't remember Tolliver, but I remembered Hobart.
Billy Joe Tolliver.
Chris, are you impressed?
He was a redhead. Yeah.
Ross and I got both of your Billy Joes.
Yeah,
Billy,
of course
not Billy Joel.
He's not going to fool me with train trivia. We can.
We didn't know which one would start, but we definitely knew it was.
I love Joe Horn. I did love Joe Horn back then too.
Chris Atwater used to have his team name was always Joe Horn. Okay, Uncle Ted says Deuce Vaughn is a beast. Ross, your thoughts?
Again, I don't know how much ball this guy's going to get. I really don't. I mean, he's going to be a beast drinking Gatorade on the sidelines. We'll see how much playing time he gets.
I like I like having at least two players like him on my bench because they could explode. But I'm
just worried about volume. That's why you take Derrick Henry. He's going to have high volume. He's going to get touchdowns, and just if you get him, you know he's going to get the ball.
Okay, Uncle Ted says Hollywood Brown is the only rookie wide receiver I know.
He's not a rookie
as a rookie for the Ravens. No, he said when he was a rookie is what he's saying.
Oh.
When he was a rookie.
Okay. Now you're reading it. Okay.
So yeah, he was talking about the Zay Flowers idea, and Hollywood Brown. I don't. Sometimes I look at systems. Like I don't trust the Ravens to develop wide receivers. And
the Ravens said they're going to pass the ball. The Ravens said, and listen, Odell Beckham is not the same receiver when he played for the Giants. His career is fading. And
wait, hold on. It's beyond fading. It's
right.
Basically
so he's one of the guys they signed. And the other receivers they have are all like flops. They have not proven themselves in the NFL at all.
I mean, you're right. There's an opportunity there.
And Zay Flowers in training camp, what I read is he's been just tearing it up. I mean, no one can guard him. I mean, he's been
okay. Just remember though, we've all seen these stories before, the preseason stories where, oh my God, everybody's
okay. When Zay Flowers is one of the lead receivers in week 3, don't be crying to Ted and I about why you didn't take him.
I agree with you in a measured way. I think he is going to be really good, especially for rookie wide receivers. I'm just saying I would probably temper expectations. I don't want you guys going out and drafting Zay Flowers.
No, these are 9-10 round guys. These are guys, anybody can draft the first 4 rounds.
But listen to what you just said, Ross, because you nailed it. This is a guy to target in the mid rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell you to draft Chase. I mean, what idiot doesn't know that? If you're playing fantasy football, like the first 4 round guys to take. The hard part is the middle rounds is the hardest.
Always. You can lose a draft in the early rounds, but you really can't win it. You win it in the middle.
If you can just buy one of those stupid magazines and just do that if you want. It's boring.
Yeah, but Ross, you know what I mean. It's like if you can lose a draft if you take a bust in round 1. It's really bad. So find the safe guys early and then it's in the middle rounds. I agree with you. That's when you win. Okay, Chris Atwater says, we used to go to a bar to watch the road games, and they had a sign that said, free shots of cactus juice if the Saints do anything good. I mean, they were the Aints back then. Remember the paper bags on their? I mean,
loved it. I miss those days. I miss those days.
I do too. Uncle Ted asks, oh yes. Well, listen, Chris Atwater's all in on Arch Manning. He really wants
the offensive coordinator for the Chargers. That I know it's somebody new. And
he says, where did he come from? Dallas. I'm going to look this up, and we're going to find out who.
I know it's a new. I saw him interviewed recently in the local LA, news. Recently.
Weird thing is how fast these things move. Because if a coach doesn't get fired and it was a bad season, a coordinator is going to get fired, and so they just go all over the place. Kellen Moore.
Yeah, that's
it. Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
All right.
I don't know why I asked that question, but. I think the Chargers are going to have a good year, and I think Eckler is going to be a top 3 running back for sure.
This I think is a great analogy. Deuce Vaughn is Sproles 2.0. That I can see. I don't think it's going to happen this season though. I expect it next season. Okay, Uncle Ted says Richardson couldn't throw at Florida to save his life. Why would he all of a sudden start throwing for the Colts? Ross, your thoughts?
They didn't let him throw that much in Florida. They made him run. But I've seen this guy throw, and this guy is the real deal. I'm telling you, he can throw. But I've been saying the whole time, he's going to have games where he's going to be rushing more than passing yards. It's just a fact.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, to me, Anthony Richardson, he profiles a lot like Jalen Hurts did in a way where it's like, can he adjust to the NFL and can he make those throws? That's the bad rep Anthony Richardson had, is that he can't throw. But then in the combine and as NFL teams looked at him, he looked good. If the guy can throw, he's going to be great.
I mean, will the Colts be bad this year? Yes. They're not going to be a good team. They'll be lucky to win 6 games. I agree 100%. Will Anthony Richardson have time to grow and be a good fantasy player? I think there's a good chance. I think if the Colts are behind, they're going to let this guy throw the ball and they're going to let him run around like a maniac. Jonathan Taylor, all of a sudden, Jonathan Taylor, sitting out, him and Irsay, the owner for the Colts, got in a big spat. So Taylor decided, I'm not showing up to practice. And then yesterday he said, you know what? I think I'm going to show up.
I will.
You know why? There's $10 million waiting for him if he plays this season. So I think he's going to play. I don't think he's going to be sitting out.
The running backs in the NFL, I feel for them. It's a strange thing to say about guys who make millions of dollars, but they're in a bad spot because they've got short careers. They have no leverage. And
again, I don't agree. I think Chubb.
What do you think?
Your boy Chubb signed a great deal in Cleveland. He's making millions.
He did.
He's okay for the next 3-4 years.
But don't you think he's the exception?
Well, there's other guys that sign deals, but the whole thing about running backs is their life expectancy on the team. That's the thing.
That's what I mean. They take a huge beating.
They do. Their
careers are short, and they don't have leverage to get paid well.
But they're a dime a dozen. Like, if Atwater can't play running back, let's put Casey Scheinfeld in there. It's like it's just a revolving door. There's a lot of running backs that want work, that want to play. I mean, look at Fournette. He can't get a job right now. Cook just signed with the Jets. Zeke Elliott just signed with New England. I mean, all these guys are signing right now because there's a plethora of great running backs out there. There really is.
Yep. And whenever anyone uses the word plethora, I don't know what you think of, but I immediately think of El Guapo.
Three Amigos.
Now listen.
Sorry.
That was great. I love it. Casey would have loved to be here for that. We'll have to report on it.
Love that movie.
Now we've got
Steve Morgan's birthday today or yesterday.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, now listen, we've got a couple of comments on things we said, so I want to read some of them. Chubb is the safest first round pick there is.
Uncle Ted, I love that, and I agree with you. I think Chubb is going to have a huge year. PPR, every category he's going to be catching, he's going to be running, he's going to have a great year, and you're 100% right.
Is he already a Hall of Famer? What do you think?
I think
he's going to be.
I think he needs a couple more good years.
But even if they're just good, I think he's going to make it.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, and the great thing about Chubb is he really doesn't get hurt that much. And their backup forward I like a lot too. And the backups for Cleveland, they always have good years. So if you're drafting Chubb, make sure you get forward also at the same time. I mean, draft him late. Don't pick him early.
All right,
now draft forward also.
I agree. Now it's time for a man crush alert. Clearly, Uncle Ted has a man crush on Roschon Johnson. I'm curious about this. Roschon Johnson would have been a first-round pick if he hadn't been overshadowed by Bijan Robinson at Texas. What do you think?
Bijan Robinson will be Rookie of the Year. Bijan Robinson will...
Where do you take him in a draft?
Who, Bijan Robinson?
Yeah, you're probably going to have to take him
in the late
round.
He's been going in late first round, early second round.
Yeah.
Atlanta's going to be running the ball a lot. They love this guy. Atlanta's line's good. Atlanta's offensive line's top 10.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty safe pick, actually.
I like Bijan Robinson, and it's always exciting to take a back, right out of college, especially Texas, where they love running backs. I think it's a great, a good pick. Just depends who else is available, but you can't go wrong taking Bijan Robinson early second round.
Here's a draft plan from Uncle Ted: Chubb first, Brown second, Metcalf third, KW3 fourth, Debo fifth.
I don't agree with Metcalf. Or Debo's on the decline. I don't like Brock Montana at all in San Francisco. I don't like San Francisco's run. I like the running game with McCaffrey, but Brock Montana is not the quarterback everybody thinks he is. This guy got extremely lucky, and he's there's a reason why.
I just figured out what you were saying. I was like, who's Brock Montana? And then I was like,
there's a reason why he was drafted last in NFL last year. And I'm not jumping up and down about Brock at all.
I think there's a possibility that Brock is not Tom Brady, but that he is, maybe some lighter version.
Well, the reason I call him Brock Montana is all the writers in the Census area are comparing him with Joe Montana.
Yeah.
So I just make
That's
it easy.
not happening.
I just make it easy for everybody. I just call him Brock Montana. There you go.
That's great. All right. Chris Atwater says,
but I don't like Metcalf at all. I think Smith is. I think their quarterback for Seattle, Smith. I don't think he's going to have a big year like he did last year. I just and plus they got that receiver from Ohio State too.
This is part of the fun of fantasy football is after week 1 we're going to have all different valuations.
I know.
Chris Atwater says Derrick Henry, Alabama baby. He's an Alabama guy. He says Michael Mayer and Luke Musgrove is the rookie tight end to get. I mean, look, I don't see much separation between. I certainly don't see any separation with Kincaid. Rookie tight ends don't tend to do that well, but I like these picks. I like these picks.
Look at Kyle Pitts. I mean, he was a big fly. Atwater was jumping up and down about Kyle Pitts when he was a rookie, and all of a sudden, this guy couldn't even get the ball. He was the joke.
It wasn't just Chris Atwater. So Uncle Ted likes Michael Mayer. Chris Atwater agrees with him.
Yeah, he's a Raider.
See, that's the thing. I'd rather. That's one of the reasons I'd rather have Kincaid, even with Dawson Knox there. I'd rather have him.
Was it Ruben Kincaid, the Partridge Family's manager? Like, wasn't his name? Ruben
that
Kincaid?
Sounds familiar. This is one of those age differences where it was slightly before my time.
I saw repeats. I didn't see the first run. I mean, I used to come home from school and it was on repeats. We'd watch the Partridge Family. I used to love it. But there you go.
All right, Ross. Chris has an old school stack. Aaron Brooks and Joe Horn. That's the stack he wants. An option. You made them laugh. And look, Ross, you made him laugh. Here's the quote. He quoted you on a beast drinking Gatorade on the sidelines. Too darn funny.
Yeah, that's what he is. That's what Vaughn is. He's a beast drinking Gatorade.
Now, Deuce Vaughn, if he was 4 inches taller, would have been the first running back drafted this year.
Oh my God! Okay, no.
Hold on. No. Ross, do you know this expression? You're Jewish, so it's like if my grandmother had balls, she would be my grandfather.
Anyway,
it's he's not 4 inches taller. So, but I love his speed. His double move is unstoppable. I love to watch these guys. We'll see. But
again, I'll repeat myself. Value. It matters how much time he gets the ball. If you're sitting on the sidelines, you're not going to get points fantasy wise. So
yeah, but but like you said, Ross, and like I've said, have 2 of those guys on your bench because maybe even 3 if there's room. Because if one explodes at some point, it's going to make a huge difference to your team. Now, Uncle Ted validating my point about the early rounds. I just don't want to whiff on my first 3 rounds. That's how I see it. You can lose your draft early. And he says, like Jonathan Taylor last year. Jonathan Taylor killed a lot of teams last year. All right. Now, Uncle Ted says, Kellen Moore. That's why I think Quentin Johnson is CeeDee Lamb 2.0. That's interesting. So, you got to pay attention to these coaching changes and see how they play out. Now, then he says, why wouldn't I believe Love isn't another great Packers QB? I agree. I think he's got a great chance.
I don't know. I've seen him play. I seen him play at one game. He was great. And I seen another game. He was horrible. We'll see. The Packers to me are. I love Aaron Jones. I think he's being overlooked a lot. I think he's going to be a top 10 running back. So if you can get Aaron Jones in the 4th or 5th round, I think that's a great draft. Christian Watson, like you said, I don't know. We'll see what happens if he's going to be a number receiver there. I have no idea. I really can't say if Love's going to be great. I just can tell you that he'd be a good backup on somebody's team. He shouldn't be a starting quarterback for you in fantasy football. You're not going to win the league.
All right. We're going to get a question from Sam Lilly. Sam says, do you think you would trade Kelsey and Mike Williams and Demont for Darren Waller?
Darren Waller gets hurt every 10 minutes. Yeah.
And Devontae Adams. Key. I already have Gibbs.
Okay, I like Gibbs. So another Alabama guy. So Adams is fine. He's practicing again. So don't say he's hurt. He's not hurt. And Darren Waller. I'm worried about Mike. No, see, I'd rather have Kelsey. That's me.
I would too, but it's not that far off because if Darren Waller rebounds nicely, you're getting Devontae Adams over Mike Williams. That's a really.
When was the last time Darren Waller played like more than 10 games. In all seriousness, I'm not being
probably
facetious.
been 3 years.
At least. I mean, this guy is in the trainer's room more than anybody I've ever seen in my life. I mean, that's why the Raiders said, you can't be here anymore. You got to leave. And Davante Adams, I like Davante Adams. I'm just worried about the offensive line for the Raiders, giving him enough time to throw to him.
I don't like moving on from Kelsey, and I like Mike Williams a lot too.
Mike Williams, I love. Clemson grad.
I would take deal Montgomery for something else. I mean, if you have Gibbs and you feel like you've got excess and you can deal Montgomery, great. But I don't want to make a deal where I get rid of Kelsey, and I do like Mike Williams. We got a question coming in.
Kelsey's been being drafted like 5th or 6th pick overall, so he's been moving up.
All right, this is question. It may be coming in from Israel. I see some Hebrew. Question: which football league is better and more quality, the Saudi league or the MLS league? So we must be talking about a different football.
Okay, we'll talk. We can talk soccer. I've been watching the World Cup. I've been watching MLS this year because they have some new guy that's playing for Miami. I forgot his name. I'm just kidding. What league is better? Oh, I mean,
I don't know. I honestly, I don't know.
I think the MLS is better. I think the players are a lot younger.
Ted says MLS.
I think MLS. I think Saudi's just a bunch of guys they bought. Well, MLS too, but Saudi League has a few stars sprinkled, but overall they're not as strong as MLS. MLS has really good players, and they're young.
Back to Deuce Vaughn. Uncle Ted says, you think Pollard is going to make it 16 games? No way. And I actually agree with that. I think he probably won't.
16.
Uncle Ted also says Aaron Hernandez and Gronk ring a bell as rookie tight ends that went off. Well, that's true. Did they do it in their rookie year? I couldn't even remember.
Aaron Hernandez, University of Florida, died in jail, correct?
Yes, he did. Himself, he did. And there's a lot of suspicion that all the head trauma was part of it, but I obviously.
Oh, he still murdered somebody.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sorry about the head trauma, but he still kills people. But
I was not excusing murder, just to be clear.
But yes, there of course there's exceptions with rookie tight ends. I mean, we're just saying overall 98% of the time rookie tight ends don't do that great. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. There's a couple of questions I want to finish up on here. Sam Lilly says my running backs are Gibbs, Jacobs, and Connor. When talking about dealing Montgomery.
Love Connor, another mid-round guy that you should pick up as a running back. They only have one running back in Arizona, and it's Connor.
So Sam wants to know who are some specific targets to trade DeMont for. And Sam, some of it would depend on what kind of position are you looking for?
I don't know what he's looking for.
You've got Kelsey, so you don't need anything at tight end. Maybe you look for a wide receiver upgrade. Like what if you deal Mike Williams and DeMont for AJ Brown? If you can do that, great. I mean, I'm not sure you can get that done, but that's the kind of thing I would start to.
Or Higgins, or or even Smith for the Philadelphia. I like too. There's a lot of really quality receivers. I love Brown for the Lions, and the Lions. They opened up with is Kansas City. That's going to be a great game. I can't wait.
That is going to be fun. All right, and one more trade offer. This is from Sam. I give Kelsey and receive Garrett Wilson and Dallas Goedert.
I love Garrett Wilson. I really do.
I do too, but it depends. It depends on your depth. I would probably stay with Kelsey. I like to build in as much value in each.
Yeah, let me tell you something about Kelsey. If you have Kelsey on your team, you have a huge advantage against every team every week because they don't have a tight end that's going to get the points Kelsey has. They don't.
So Sam says I'm really looking for a wide receiver. So what I would do is, turn Montgomery into some relatively good wide receiver instead. Just go straight for the the straight thing you want, or package him with Mike Williams to get an upgrade and just keep building. I always want to upgrade spots.
You know who I've been drafting in some leagues just because I feel he's going to be the breakout receiver in Kansas City is Sky Moore. I really feel he was a rookie last year. This year he's a sophomore, and I really feel he's going to be the number one target, the number one wide receiver target for Mahomes. I really do. And he's somebody that you can target, get late in the draft, and see what happens. I mean, just spin the wheel, see what happens.
Yep. All right, Chris Atwater says, do you like, this is one name I actually don't know how to pronounce. I've never heard it pronounced. Keyshawn Bout, or Booty? How do you say it? On the Patriots.
Say Booty, I like that better.
Sure. I don't think that's actually how you say it. But
so it's New Orleans.
This guy in Dynasty Leagues, people were talking about taking him along with Addison. Like they were in the same discussion. And, a couple months, and now everybody says he's no good. Chris is saying Mac has to throw the ball somewhere. I like him as a late sleeper. Absolutely.
I think New England is New England's in trouble this year. I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know if Jones is going to keep his job. Could be that Zapp guy. I don't know.
It could go in many different directions. Sam Lilly then said we're going to finish up on 2 more questions. How do you?
I love Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley is going to have like 14 touchdowns. I think 1,200 yards. I think this guy is going to just be angry that he didn't play last year. He had to make stupid bets on his phone, idiot, for like a few dollars. I mean, he makes millions. Why is he betting money? That doesn't mean anything to him. And I think Calvin Ridley is somebody, if you can draft him in the 4th or 5th round, take him. Big year. Love him.
I totally agree, and I think you've got the valuation.
Love him.
All right, here, let's finish up on this. This relates to what Sam was asking. Uncle Ted says, that's why you stack rookie running backs late in the draft and wait on them to flip for players later when running backs start dropping like flies. That's the thing, Sam. Be patient here when you're looking for your wide receiver. Make deals that are clear upgrades for you. You can get value on the waiver wire, on the bench, and then you can keep trading that for more and more value. So don't deal a guy like Kelsey. Go ahead instead and turn Montgomery and Mike Williams into something better. If you can turn it into AJ Brown or something like that, great. And then go from there. And then do what Uncle Ted's saying. Build up value on the bench. All right. Now, Chris Atwater says, Mac Jones, don't act like you don't know the name. 4,000 yards easy this year. We know Chris Atwater is big into Mac Jones. He made a big trade in our Dynasty League for him.
Alabama,
so we're going to have to see. Alabama. Guys, it has been a great show with you, Ross. I always enjoy sitting down with you and talking about all these sports, but this is a time when everybody's particularly excited. Fantasy football is ramping up. It's draft time. We're all excited about it, and now we get to see how does this all play out. Ross, it's been a pleasure as always. We will be here the same time next week. That's Thursdays, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Keep the questions coming. We love them. Thanks.
And this Tuesday, Casey Scheinfeld will be back. And we'll talk about running backs, sleepers, busts, top 10. If you have any questions about running backs and you should watch the show on Tuesday at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. I'm Ross the Boss, and it was great talking to everybody today.
All right. And Uncle Ted, you asked where you have to find that email for baseball. It is there. I sent it myself. So look for one from me.
He did.
All right. And if send it to us again if you can't find it for some reason. Yeah. One quick question. Sam says, I have Jacobs this year, but I'm kind of iffy on him. I'm not iffy on Jacobs.
Don't be iffy on him. I know he's playing the poor guy is not making enough money routine, but it's not working. And he'll be collecting his $10 million check. Don't worry.
Don't overthink things. All right,
Jacobs was the number 1 point running back last year, so he's going to have a huge year this year. He's great. Another Alabama running back.
It's like they're almost all Alabama or Ohio State. There's like a couple of colleges. All right, guys, it has been great. We'll see you same time next week. Pleasure as always. Send us in questions. Write your comments below.